As her reign begins, our season comes to an end. We're talking movies, we're talking The Woman King, starring Viola Davis, Lashana Lynch, and John Bugoya. Story by Maria Bello and Dana Stevens, who wrote the screenplay, and directed by Gina Prince Blythewood. Some things are worth fighting for.
Close your mouth. You look like a fish.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Not only are we talking about the newest release, the 2022 release of The Woman King, we have a fantastic guest in filmmaker and actor, Mary Galloway. Hey, Mary, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Scotty. Thanks for having me. So great to be here.
So did we say, is it Galloway? We didn't even check to make sure we spelled your last name right.
You got it.
So you've got a pretty impressive resume, from the Canadian Screen Awards to the Hollywood Reporter. Why don't you just tell us and our audience all about like all the great work you've been doing and kind of like some background on you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I am a writer, director, actor, showrunner, and producer when I have to, but I hate it, so I try not to call myself that. I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite. But yeah, I am originally from the Coast Salish territory. I'm a member of the Cowichan tribes, and I currently live in Treaty 1 territory. I am
Sorry, just because
mixed...
I'm going to interrupt you a second. Since we have an international audience, if you could maybe give some perspective of like where those are within the nation of Canada.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm from the Coast Salish territory, which is colonially known as British Columbia, the coast of British Columbia. And I currently live in Treaty 1 territory, which is now known as Winnipeg, and that's in Manitoba, kind of in central Canada. And I am working on a bunch of projects. I've got season 2 of my web series Querencia in pre-development, turn it into a television series, move it from web to TV, and a couple of other development deals for television, and some documentary feature docs that I'm directing, which I'm really excited about, and a short film that's premiering next month in Toronto at 2 Festival. And so I kind of just jump around and do whatever story and whatever role in that story feels right. And I love to tell female empowerment stories, queer stories, Indigenous stories, all that.
So are you, before we get into your filmmaking, other than your own projects, are you still acting? Like, are you still being picked up as an actor for other productions?
Yeah, I just acted actually on Friends limited series called Altar Boys here, and I played a doctor, which I was like, hell yeah, I'll play an Indigenous doctor. Yeah, like sign me up. So I act occasionally. It's one of those things that is my first love, and I will always be interested in acting. But it kind of ends up being usually in projects that is like a friend has thought of me to cast me in something. It's less so the traditional like audition and get shortlisted and called back, and like I don't book acting roles really the traditional way, which is really strange, but yeah.
I mean, if you're in a space where you can be have characters written for you, I think you're doing all right.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what we have in common. Like, I'm like Chris's muse and all his projects, and you know, I'm always.
I used you in one project. I used you in one project, and you and your daughter are going to be in a film I'm producing. That's only 2.
So it went from 1 to 2. That's how the snowball rolls, right?
It doubled, yeah.
You're like, I got 100% increase in my acting roles. How was it that, so you went to the Canadian Screen Awards this year for queer?
Yes.
Go ahead and you say it.
Querencia.
Thank you. You got nominated for Best Web Series and the Audience Choice Awards.
Oh yeah, that was such a whirlwind. I mean, I've always wanted to be involved with the CSAs, and to get nominated for the Audience Choice Award was like the icing on the cake, you know. It's just that's the award that really, like, to me means something. Like, awards are kind of sometimes just I don't know, people like scratching each other's backs, and it's like, yeah. But the Audience Choice Award, those are the people that, like, I want my work to, like, to resonate with. And like, we were up against some huge heavy hitting shows, and we're this ultra low budget web series up against like Canada's Drag Race and Winona Earp and like all these huge following shows, you know?
You love me. You really love me.
Absolutely, and I know what you mean. Like the other awards can almost be like industry for well, they are industry for industry, but like you said, like I'll give you director and you give me screenwriter, and but the audience, like you can't sway that group. It's they like what they like, and that's what they're gonna pick, right?
Yeah, totally. And it was audience like voted, of course, and there was many rounds, and we like kept making the next round, and we didn't make it all the way to the end, but like to even make the nomination round, and then to make a few rounds, like knocking out some of those big shows, was like, what's going on? Like, this is like the little engine that could, it feels like. And it's just such a project that I'm so passionate about and love to tell that story. So yeah, it was just such a like fun time and honor, and lots more to come for those characters for sure.
So your show right now is basically a web series about 15 minutes long per episode on APTN's LUMI, which is, I guess, sort of like the CBC Gem app online version. And then is it Reverie, where you can watch it globally?
Yeah, Reverie.tv is globally. It's a queer LGBTQ2 S plus platform, and yeah, it's pretty much global on Reverie, and within Canada, yeah, on aptnlumi.ca.
And now you're in your pre-production to go, like, are you going to go onto terrestrial television, or are you going to be picked up, or are you looking to be picked up by a streaming service like Amazon or Netflix, or what's the goal as you move into that 30-minute mark?
Yeah, so basically right now APTN has given us development money to break the stories, which is just like get the broad strokes of the story of the next season written, and we want to take it to another broadcaster or streaming service to like kind of co-produce with a larger like platform, because I have really big high hopes and like dreams for the next season, and we absolutely do not want to go ultra low budget again. You know what? We used that opportunity to like show what we've got, and now it's time to like put the money where the mouth is and be like, okay, you see how good this show did? We need to put actual money into it, because I'm like called in all my favors, and I want to pay my people properly and not you know, just scrape by for the next season. So we're right now looking for a partner to pair up with APTN.
Do you do you feel comfortable talking about what the budget was for the show? Because it looks very good. The editing, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. The editing's fantastic. Your cinematography is nice and stable. Like, it looks really good. It doesn't look low budget. I mean, it's a bit of a shorter show, but you guys pull. I mean, we were just talking about Jeff Barnaby. I'm sure you know of him. You know, Blood Quantum and Rhymes for Young Ghouls, and similar to you, seems to be able to stretch a budget. Like I said, are you comfortable with talking about what your rough budget was for production for this show, or is that like a secret?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was trying to remember this the other day actually, because I feel like our actual like monetary budget was lower than our like, we had a lot of in-kind donations. So probably like money wise, it was probably for 8 episodes that were, yeah, about 10 to 15 minutes per an episode. We had about 200, maybe $250,000. And for that many minutes and that much content, that's just like pennies basically in the film world.
Was that is it a union project? Like, were you working with ACTRA, or?
Yeah, yes, we were. I mean, I'm a full union member, so we had to. But yeah, we were union, and then we had a lot of crew that were like given opportunities that they are like going for a level of their position that's higher than what they usually get. So we were able to like, get people that are part of their unions, but if you give them a bigger title, then they can work on I don't think their crew was necessarily union in the roles that they were in.
Like a first AC operating as a DOP, or like a third
Yeah.
AD operating as a first, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we also gave a lot of people their first opportunity on any film set, like our hairstylist. That was her first film set she's ever been on, and she knocked it out of the park. Like, it was just, we really wanted to find people who were passionate about the story, who would show up every day and like put in their best work because they love the story and they want to be there. It's definitely not a job that was like, oh, I'm just cashing a paycheck.
How long did it take to shoot all your episodes? Like, did you block shoot everything together, like bang, 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 or did you shoot and then kind of, get some more money and shoot? Like, did you have that production budget all from the beginning as well, or?
Yeah, so we won the pitch competition at Imaginative Film Festival, and that's where we started with the budget. And then it was originally only going to be like 5-minute episodes and only 4 of them. And so then we applied to Telefilm because it was the last year Telefilm was going to do web series funding. And so we applied to that and we got that, but they wanted at least 80 minutes plus of content. So I basically scrapped the episodes I'd written and then rewrote as a like 80 to 90-minute project. And so we shot it all at once. We did, I think it was 12 days of shooting, which was like so not enough. But we like squeezed it in, and we had like kind of short days. We like could not go over the certain amount of hours, and we also were in the like second wave of the like pandemic, and it was Vancouver, and like it was in code orange, and then on the last 3 days of filming it went code red, and we had to like lay off basically half our crew and just like limit the amount of people in the room, and we had to just all kind of collectively hold our breaths that we would not get shut down because it was like pre-vaccines.
So is that why you don't want to be a producer? Because you have to make those choices in terms of who's getting laid off? And
Oh yeah, it was horrible. And like my producer Jessie Anthony was so amazing at it, and I like did not envy her that day when she had to like make cuts, and it was like we have to, otherwise we can't keep shooting, but we were like a family and we were not ready to say goodbye to each other.
Do you want to give us a bit of like the story arc of your show, just so that when people can go, hey, I want to go see that show?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. So Querencia follows the love story of 2 Indigenous queer women. One is named Dega, and she's a very traditional, closeted, grew up on the res type of girl who's shy and kind of quiet and hasn't quite like come into herself. And then we have Abe, who I play, and she's like the city girl. She's out and proud. She's artist, and she's very disconnected from her Indigenous roots. And so the 2 girls meet by accident and fall in love and kind of introduce each other to their opposing worlds that they know nothing about.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of the episodes, and it's like I said, it's very well done. For example, in the first episode, I love there's that editing choice where her character lays down and is kind of facing to the left, and then your character, you're not actually in the same space, and then it's edited together almost like you're looking at each other. I thought that was such a great cinematic choice. You're a bad motherfucker in that show as well, with the crazy hair and like waking up and like drinking whiskey and smoking weed. And as I
Tuesday night for Tuesday morning for Chris.
Yeah, exactly. I came from a dance background, and that shot, that whole setup of her doing her audition gave me anxiety. Like you guys really hit the like how it feels. It doesn't actually even mean even if you're really good, it is the most, dance auditions are probably the most stressful type of audition you can do, which makes acting
Oh, hell yeah.
auditions like easy.
Oh my God, I know. And like, I grew up dancing for like 9 years of my life, but I was on Vancouver Island and I was in a non-competitive dance school. And then I moved to Vancouver. I was getting started in the film industry and a like dance audition open call. I'm like, absolutely, I got this, no problem. And then I show up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in over my head. Like, what have I done? What have I done? And so like, I've been Dega. And yeah, that is the most painful audition process for sure. And poor Caitlin, like we really put her through it. She's like a dancer and singer. She does musical theater, but I like did not let her learn the dance ahead of time. And like the other actors all got it like a week ahead of time and all got to like actually know it. And everyone that was a dancer auditioned for the dance teacher. And so they were all these like badass, fierce, intimidating, like they knocked it out of the park for their auditions. And like we had to just cast one person. And then I was like, wouldn't it be fun to just fill the room full of these like Phoenix characters? And so I offered them all like the background role and they're like, hell yeah, I'll be there. So like just Dega was set up for failure from the beginning.
Yeah, because it looks so real, I actually wondered if you had used like a directing trick to do that. Because either that or she's like such an amazing actor that she's falling her way through that choreography.
I mean, she is an amazing actor, but no, yeah, we did not let her learn it.
You're using like some Stanley Kubrick techniques there, going like
Yeah.
full method. Before we get into the movie, what would your recommendation be for like, I already know what Scott's thinking right now. What's your recommendation for like people who want to, you know, make that step into like making something that's going to get, you know, picked up by a network or whatever? Like it's a tough, it feels very gatekeeped at points, right? So.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that the hard work though like pays off, and like as long as you are genuinely passionate about whatever it is you're making, like people will show up for you. And like you can't half-ass it at any point, you know, you just have to put in the hard work and the hours. And also to like apply to literally every opportunity that you see come up that you're eligible for. The amount of things that I've submitted to and I felt like I'm not ready to submit to this, but I just got to try, and then I would end up getting in or like getting the opportunities or the funding or whatever. Like I've been on the jury now that I'm like, I've made this shift in the last like year where all of a sudden people are counting me as like an established filmmaker as opposed to emerging. And I've been asked to be on the jury for a lot of things, for like film festival competitions or you know, like funding applications, and I'm getting to see the other side of it now. And I'm like, oh, like there actually, it doesn't take a lot to stand out. Like if you're passionate about what you're doing and you're not just trying to like please the funders and like think like, oh, what's hot right now, or like what do I think they want? Like don't do that. Just do something you're really passionate about and the audience will show up, the funding will show up, and just apply to literally everything, because there are some really bad applications being sent in, and sometimes they're the only ones that get sent in, so they're going to get funding. And if you do hard work, you will get it, you know.
What is it you're doing at the Canadian? You're at the Canadian Film Center now, right?
No, I finished that program, but it was the director's lab. So it was supposed to be a 6-month program. It ended up being more like a year because it was virtual and like the pandemic kind of threw it off. But yeah, it was the director's lab. So I made a short film there called Better at Texting, and it's going to be at Real World Film Festival next month in Toronto, as well as Imaginative Film Festival.
Yeah, Imaginative is what, mid-October or is it early November?
Yeah, mid-October.
Scott, do you have anything else before we get into the film or what?
No. I'm gonna wait for the panhandling joke later on, because now that I know you're in like the you know, submission stuff for these, the whole guest thing is making 100% sense now. let me tell you about this little short film called The Gathering that Ava Mac Productions has produced.
Mary, is there anything else you want to talk about before we start talking about the Woman Queen?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well then, Scott, as we normally do, take us away.
All right. So when we're actually talking about the film, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us for our season finale of season 2. And just like the mailman, we deliver through rain, sleet, and snow. Chris was under the weather, but he still fought through to watch this film because he didn't want to disappoint our listeners or Molly. But Chris, did you ever find out who actually gave you mono? Because it is the kissing disease.
First off, I think her name's Mary, not Molly.
What?
Yeah, it literally says it on her screen, but that's okay, man.
Oh, see, I had to shorten it for my little thing.
Was that supposed to be about me?
Sorry.
And that's my cue to exit.
Like we said it in the pre, like we get everybody's name wrong.
Yeah, we even get our own names wrong, so it's fine. So I went to the theater yesterday masked up because I wasn't feeling great, but I didn't actually like the idea of Scott being able to talk all about the movie by himself because we know how much of a train wreck that would fucking be. So yeah, go ahead, Scott.
I did enjoy it. Like I didn't know much about like this history. And it just goes to show that, you know, some of the nicest people are Portuguese, because that Portuguese guy kicked ass, just like this Portuguese guy kicks ass.
That may not have been the message that they were like going for, but
I'm just saying Portuguese people were nice, right? Yeah. They were nice.
Except for all their colonial violence. Other than that, they were fantastic people. No,
well, the colonial violence guy was the English guy. The Portuguese, or technically he was Brazilian, so we can if he was super bad, he doesn't count because I'm Portuguese.
How did Brazil become Portuguese? What was done?
Yeah, that was Vasco da Gama. Yeah, that was Portugal. Yeah, those Portuguese people. Shut up, Chris. Come on. Fuck you. But I did like, in terms of the messaging here, that like, because you don't really see it, because normally like this kingdom is supposed to be like the heroes, right? But you see that they even talked about it, how the king, he was part of the slave trade. Like that's how they made it, and they didn't shy away from it. But it was about making that 180 to like turn away from that to save like all their people and the nation itself. Like I thought that was like they didn't shy away from their history.
So this film, actually, that is one of the big criticisms it's taking, is because that is basically fucking fictitious. They were one of the biggest African slaving nations, and they basically considered getting out of slavery, and they did for maybe a small percentage of time, and then they realized they made more money with slaving, and they went back to slaving. So there's a lot of liberty taken with their history here, which is fine. Like, I mean, I think the use of that story to get all those like, you know, black faces up on a screen is fine. Like the whole idea of like badass female warriors also I think is great. Before I let Mary jump in, I'm just going to jump into my quote just so everybody knows exactly where I sit when it comes to this film. So Dan Geer of the Chicago Daily Herald said, "The Woman King has the feel of a Game of Thrones episode edited for the Lifetime channel." I actually thought it felt more like a Disney version of this film, not Lifetime channel. But that's kind of where my jumping off point is going to be, how I felt watching this film. Mary, what do you think?
That's interesting. I loved it so much. I mean, Viola Davis can do no wrong in my books. Like, she is so fierce, so badass, so authentic and true to like every line she has, every action she takes. You know, she's gotten to a point as an actor that she's doing it with authenticity and like truth, you know. But she, for me, like is absolutely like just breathtaking in every way in the film. I do feel like there is a bit of a Disney like sugar coating on it, for sure. And the young character who played opposite Viola, her like her character I just loved so much, and I really could lose myself in her perspective, I felt like, and that was really fun for me. And I don't get a lot of, I mean, as it's like North America knows, female led kind of superhero-y feel, I can't relate to male superhero kind of very epic movie as much as I can with Wonder Woman or The Woman King. I just absolutely felt like a kid going to a theater to watch their hero.
Yeah,
So
that was the one thing I was disappointed. I tried so hard to get my daughters to come watch this with me, but they didn't want to because they thought the trailer didn't look good. It didn't appeal to them, I guess I can say. But that was the thing I was trying to get them to do too, because exactly what you're saying. I've seen the strong male hero, like John McClane, the normal guy that was gonna rescue a fucking his wife in a hostage thing. But I'm like, there hasn't really been that for my daughters, and I'm like, everything I saw there, I'm like, this is gonna be a bunch ass women just killing a bunch of fucking dickheads. I'm like, I think you're gonna like this, and none of them are like, nope. No.
How old are they?
16 is my oldest, and 12.
Oh, so fascinating. I would have thought that age range they would be like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So I would agree that I love Viola Davis. I mean, multi-Academy Award nominated actor, won the Academy Award for Fences, which is amazing, with Denzel Washington. She also won a Tony for it. No, she got nominated for a Tony for Fences as well. And those, I actually found that when she had her big dramatic moments, the film was working. She just has enough gravitas that she can basically pick the whole thing up and carry it on her shoulders. And I actually would really after seeing her in both this and in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I want to see her play more of that gritty neo-noir gangster kind of character. Almost like if you were to replace Denzel Washington in American Gangster and put her in, because she's such a fucking bad motherfucker, man.
Bad motherfucker.
Or even redo a blaxploitation style film with her as the black gang leader. You know what I mean? Because she is such a intense, fiery actor.
Oh yeah, that'd be so cool. I also actually had the opposite thought of okay, I've seen her be badass. I want to see her be so soft. I want to see a film where she's the opposite, and I want to just see that range from her, because I feel like she is always a very fierce woman.
Have you seen Fences?
I actually haven't, no.
Yeah, so I would it's one of those films, just like If Beale Street Could Talk, that I highly recommend people watch. It's very, very well done. It's based on the August Wilson play, obviously, and it's beautifully shot. It's often when you do, as I'm sure aware, when you shoot a play, it can fall apart really easily because it's just a different medium going to film. They do a really good job of doing Fences as a film, so I would highly recommend it. And you will get to see her. She's still tough though. I don't know if she can play she has ever played truly vulnerable, because I think there's just like an iron inside of her.
Yeah.
I would say in this film you saw her break down actually kind of soft, especially when she had to relive her past kind of thing, and you saw her breaking down and stuff, and that's why I in terms of her performance, I don't know if this is jinxing it. I wouldn't be surprised if she's going to be one of the nominees for best actress for this year, off this film, because it does go from hard ass to soft to a middle ground to everything. She played a range a lot in this film.
So Mary, what did you think about because I felt one of my issues with this script is I felt like it tried to tried to say a lot of things about femininity at the same time, obviously not being someone who identifies as female. I might be missing some of this stuff because it's the wrong lens. But one of the things I felt didn't need to be in there was that quasi love story between the Portuguese guy, well, the mixed race guy, and one of the female leads. What was your take on that?
Scotty looks offended that you said he's a Portuguese.
You name me a movie with like a fucking Portuguese guy that's on the big screen here, right? Like we have one and you got to fucking cut this guy out. Like we got one.
Well,
Yeah,
one guy's
that's right,
Portuguese,
Scotty.
one's mixed though. He's mixed.
No, the bad guy's not Portuguese. He just speaks Portuguese.
Oh, okay.
He's from England.
Sir, calm down.
I'm calm!
Yeah, the Portuguese guy is half Portuguese and half from that tribe, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like holding my breath that I was like, please do not turn this into a man saves the woman story. Like I was so nervous every time he came around because I'm like, this better not turn into her like leaving the soldiers and like falling in love and being like he's the hero. I was so nervous about every time he appeared. I was like, please don't do it, please don't do it. So yeah, I think like, yeah, it could have done without that. And I also was expecting, when he gives her clothes at the end, I was like, I really wanted her to just like do something like more warrior-esque with them than just wear them and look like in like really like it was just that was a weird choice to me. But yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking every time he got reintroduced.
See, I had the same nerves, but I think it was the reverse. I always thought it was going to be like this motherfucker is going to end up being like the villain. Like he's going to be her villain at the end, right? Especially when she would like they captured her and she was on the block for sale.
Yeah.
And then when he spoilers ended up purchasing her, like to save, I guess technically to save her so that she didn't get shot. And when she asked them in the room, like, are you like, do you own me? I thought that's when he was gonna have like the flip reverse. And I'm like, motherfucker, I can't even have one Portuguese guy on the screen, right? But when he turned out okay, I'm like, fuck you, Chris, we got one.
So that's actually I would have preferred to see the Europeans. The Europeans are almost played as like neutral, like yeah, this slave thing, it's bad, but it's helping these African nations. Like it still had this almost like white savior aesthetic to it. I'm like, I wanted to see the scene that Scott's talking about. I would have preferred if it actually did go in that direction and then she like cut dude's throat or something like that. Like the Europeans that went to slave trade were not good people. If you have not seen Django Unchained, you need to understand how bad the fucking slave trade was. It was not a good thing. They were not nice people.
Yeah, I mean, like read up on history, like not just the Django, but yeah. No, I think yeah, it could have gone a lot of ways. It felt maybe a little, yeah, that was the weakest link in this movie, I think, was that little love story. And yeah, or it would have been cool to see that young woman like turn on him and be just like absolutely like getting him wrapped around her finger just to like, get into the spaces they needed to get into or something. Like I would have loved that.
Yeah, absolutely. I also felt like I would have preferred more like the Ridley Scott treatment on this, like grittier, much more up close with the violence. I felt like they spent too much time in the wide shots, and it just never felt, to be honest, it didn't feel violent enough. Like, and that might have been, I actually don't in front of me have the rating. Was it PG or what was the rating on this film? And they may have done that just to like allow it to be seen by multiple audiences. But considering we're talking about like slave trading and really brutal hand-to-hand combat, I would have preferred to see it more visceral, like have it more visceral. You know what I mean?
Interesting. No, I thought that it had just enough. Like I didn't want more at all. Because I don't feel like that was the point of it. It was it felt more real to me, that it wasn't so like gory bloodbath. Like, there was never a time when you see blood like squirting out to like and hitting someone on the face or something, like, and I appreciated that, because I don't love that in movies.
But some of the choices they had for weapons, like when they had like their nails like scraped super sharp, like I was like, that's when I thought there was going to be like a massive like spray and stuff when they're like getting the guys down and stuff. But I was like, it's just an interesting take. But Chris, quick question for you though, because you hated Prey so much. So how did you like when she attached the sword in this movie to a string and used that?
Yeah, see, I like it in this because they kind of touch on it with the string, like why this is your first weapon. We never hear about it again. And then bang, it gets used. In Prey, it was like they sat on that topic for so long. You're like, okay, here we're gonna go. And remember, that sword on a string thing is basically a part of this warrior nation's skill set. Like it's something they all do, they all use it. I thought it was done much better in the Woman King than it was done in Prey. But you know my feelings on Prey. I didn't think it was fantastic. So
yeah, I really liked the string as their first weapon.
What else? Did you guys like anything else? Any criticisms?
Oh, I was gonna say like the thing that, like when we were talking about acting, the thing that distracted me the most was the actor Jimmy, I'm going to pronounce his last name super wrong too, Okoye, I think, who played the villain Oda Day. Because when they did his facial reveal, I swear to God, for a split second, I thought it was LeBron James. And I was like, I'm like, oh, is this like one of his like cameos for film? And he's going to be like this badass guy that's about to get killed by Viola Davis in the first scene. And then when he just went on, and then I could see it wasn't LeBron, but at the beginning I was super fucking distracted. But if they ever do a LeBron James biopic, they have their actor right there, man.
That's funny. I thought when they brought the like heads to him and Viola like take them on, they had like duel or whatever, and the young one went and like closed the gate. I 100% thought this was the moment that Viola Davis was going to like acknowledge that this young one is all right, and like kind of accepts her. And when she didn't, I was like, oh, interesting. Like, that's not where I thought that was going. But I feel like the point of it then was to plant a seed in Viola Davis's character of sometimes breaking the rules is what you have to do. And like, I thought the point of it was for them to like have their bonding moment. And when it wasn't that, I was very surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you guys seem to be in the majority because 94% of critics and 99% of audiences like this movie. Somehow, yet again, I'm on the outside looking in. Like I said, I thought it had a huge pacing problem. Multiple times I was like, is this movie over yet? So I would assume you guys would recommend people watching this film?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sure, like the pacing maybe felt a little slow sometimes, but I actually think that was nice for me. Like the amount of like intensity that it was for me, I guess maybe because I also put myself in their shoes when I'm watching it. I'm thinking like, could I do that? Like, could that be me? And so it was really like intense for me. And if it was any faster, I think I would have been too overwhelmed by it. So I think the pacing was maybe catered towards people like me who are like, oh God, okay, yes, like I'm ready for more now. But like, ooh.
So yeah, maybe that made it more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and I really appreciated the lack of gore.
Well,
until the director's cut comes out.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
then you find out where
Gorsetti.
all the head cutting is. Mary, do you have anything else you want to talk about on this particular on this film before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. I feel like we covered a lot of the bases. But yeah, if anyone wants to check out Querencia, it's APTN LUMI or every TV. And I love to connect with people on Instagram. It's at Miss M Galloway. And yeah, super happy to be here. And thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Do you use your Twitter? Because we noticed you had Twitter as well, because we can throw that in our show notes for our audience.
I mean, I have Twitter. Do I use it? Not really. Like, I will check like native Twitter once in a while, but that's it's the whole purpose at the moment for me. But I mean, sure, follow me on there. I'll get on there once in a while.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show, Mary. Like I said, we're going to throw a bunch of info in the show notes and hyperlinks and stuff, so make it really easy for our audience not only to check out your show, but to get in contact with you. And yeah. Scott, you got anything else before we let her go?
No, just thank you so much for joining us. And I really look forward to season 2, because I just literally finished season 1 like an hour ago. But I did want to say, in terms of the show, I know Chris was saying his favorite shot. I just want to say my favorite shot. I think it was like season 5, the change of hair. It's when they're cutting her hair and it's like a close-up of her, and then like you're in the foreground, and then like the single tear comes down, like that I liked so much, because I was like, it's so many like different like emotions going through her kind of thing. I was like, yeah, I got it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to hear. I haven't heard that one as much, and it's usually the cardigan scene when they're under the cardigan that people always mention.
Yeah. See, I'm different.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be different.
Yeah, and if in season 2, if Abe has like, because she was brought up in the system, if she has like a really bad like jerk stepbrother, Chris is available. That's his role. That's his bread and butter.
I do tend to be cast as bad shitty white men, cops or abusive husbands. I mean, I have that aesthetic. It is definitely what I get cast as an actor in all the time. But hey, you can't say typecast without saying cast. So
it's true. Yeah, if you want to be cast as a shitty white man, I mean, sure.
It's all the same acting credit. Whether you're good or bad, you're still getting an acting credit. So
yeah. It's true. I mean, someone's got to play the shitty white dude.
Yes, and it's usually me. Well, thanks for coming out, Mary. Yeah, we'll be in touch when the episode comes out. We'll send you a link and stuff so you can check it out. We'll eventually get around to updating your IMDb with you as a guest on the show. That's my fault. I'm really behind on our guests right now. So
no, cool. Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, Mary. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, so before we end the show, my recommendation is just wait for this motherfucker to come out on a streaming service.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. See, we ended on a laugh. It went very well.
At my expense,
See?
which is good.
That's the only kind of laugh we can get, right?
It's true. Well, definitely both with my pants on and off. You got anything else?
I know, man. Just be careful. Well, why don't you let them know what's the beginning of season 3? What is your title for the beginning of season 3? Because I know I'm never going to say it.
Okay.
But go ahead.
All right. So season 3, we are starting off with our Hot Ghouls of Halloween special. We're gonna have some horror FX artists on. We're gonna have some horror photographers as well as horror models as our guests. And we're going to be talking about horror movies all through the month of October. So look forward to our Hot Ghouls of Halloween and the beginning of How'd You Like That Movie? Season 3. Production by Rod Shaver,
Vader Monkey Productions.